Winning Blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. When I departed you yesterday, right after I left, the news came down that Alex Smith had officially been traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now look, I say officially, but it's still tentative because nothing is official until March the 12th when free agency commences. So it's not official, but I wanted to hear multiple sources, multiple outlets reporting the same thing, that the trade was a done deal. I didn't want to hear from a source close to the Chiefs. I didn't want to hear from an anonymous GM that this was a deal that was going to be done. I wanted to hear officially from every media outlet. I wanted to hear from Alex Smith. I wanted to hear from people close to Alex Smith. This deal was done. I wanted to hear from the teams involved that this deal was done. I got what I was looking for. Remember, just on Monday, I said, look, everyone's saying that it's going to happen. I don't believe it until it actually happens. Well, it's happened. And now I'm a believer. I see what has happened. And normally I would lead the show off with something as big as that because I think that this trade is huge in the landscape of the National Football League. We'll talk about it a little bit later, though, because I want to spend a lot of time on that trade because I feel like there's a lot of things that happened. And because of this trade, dominoes are going to fall from this trade. And so I want to spend a good 10, 15 minutes on that topic alone. So let's start somewhere else and come back to that story a little bit later on. I want to start with all of these teams having to restructure deals to get under the salary cap. Man, I can't remember a time where it was so rampant that teams were restructuring a lot of the big name players on their teams. You look at the Cowboys, they've already restructured Witten, and they turned around, restructured Ware. And I don't think that they're done because Miles Austin is a guy that's making a lot of money. They're probably going to ask him soon to either restructure his deal or they're going to cut him because he's making a lot of money. And for the money that he's making, they're not getting the production out of him that I think they would like to see. So wouldn't be surprised if they come calling to him next to restructure his deal. You look at the Steelers, and they got a ways to go to get under the cap. They'll get under it comfortably, but they already restructured the deal of Antonio Brown. They turned around, restructured the deal of Timmons. Then they restructured the deal of Ben Roethlisberger. So they're busy restructuring deals out in Pittsburgh. Then you look at the New England Patriots. They've restructured the deal of Tom Brady. That freed up a lot of cap space, allowed them to have the maneuver ability to go out and re-sign Wes Welker if they so choose to. And I think that they will. I think that that is one of their top priorities in the offseason is re-signing Wes Welker. It needs to be. If it isn't, I don't think they're going to have Sebastian Vollmer back. He's probably asking for too much money, and there's a lot of tackles out on the market in free agency this offseason. And so I don't think the Patriots are going to break the bank for Sebastian Vollmer, but I think they will use some of that money that was freed up by Brady to re-sign Wes Welker. Now, there's a lot of teams restructuring deals. It is amazing how many teams are out restructuring deals to try to help themselves get under this cap. And the cap is flattened out. You know, every year there was an incremental increase in the cap. And this year, it might be $1 million. It might be, $1.5 million, but it's not going up by $3 or $4 million as it had been going up over the last couple of years, where it was 5 or 7 million here and there. This thing is flattening out, and teams are really feeling the ill effects of that. And so A lot of teams are asking some of their big money players, hey, we need your help here. If you want to be a winner, we're going to have to ask you to restructure your deal. And Drew Brees has said, look, if the Saints come to me, I might be willing to listen and I might be willing to do it as well. So that's probably going to be something that the Saints might have to entertain. I don't know what the Lions are going to do, but that might be something they need to entertain. You got Matthew Stafford making about $20 million. That's a huge cap number. Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford are probably making up about a good 40% of their cap space. And so you got to look at guys that are making that kind of money and say, look, there's something we have to do. You know, this might be something that we need to do. And for all of the teams that are looking to restructure and all the players that are allowing their teams to restructure their deals, a guy that said, no, I'm not restructuring my deal is Jermichael Finley with the Green Bay Packers, the tight end that many think won't be back with the Packers in the 2013 season. He's already come out and said, look, I like the way my deal is, the way it is, and I'm not changing anything. Now, if they come to me with a deal that makes sense and they want to restructure, I might think about it. But as far as taking a pay cut, not happening, buddy. Not taking a pay cut, not restructuring my deal. I really like the way it is right now. I need my money, and I'm not restructuring my deal for anybody. You don't like it? Send me on my way. I'll go and get the money that I think I deserve anyhow. So for all the teams that are restructuring deals, for all the players that are agreeing to restructure these deals, Jermichael Finley said, I'm not one of them. And I'm surprised there's not more players that are like that don't want to restructure their deals. Again, sometimes restructuring your deal is for the better. You get more of your money up front right now on the spot because the team wants to free up some cap space. And a lot of times the best way to go about that is to give some of that money up front in a signing bonus type of capacity and backload the contract. And so that cap number, that base salary isn't as much as it would have been had you left the contract the way it was constructed in the first place. So I'm surprised that a lot of other players don't say no. But if the team comes with a proposal that doesn't lose you any money and you get more of it up front, if you're the player, it makes sense. Why wouldn't you do it? So a lot of restructuring going on in the National Football League right now. So now let's talk about that Alex Smith trade to Kansas City. What a deal it was for the San Francisco 49ers. Who really saw the 49ers getting a second-round draft choice and a conditional pick on top of matters for Alex Smith? I find it hard to believe that Alex Smith was actually worth that much to the Kansas City Chiefs, but I tell you what, if you don't have a quarterback in the National Football League, I've said it so many times, and this is more proof of that, you don't have a chance. And Andy Reid said, my first order of business is getting a quarterback in here that I can rely on. Someone that I can turn the football over to, and they won't turn the football over to the other team. Matt Castle was a turnover machine in 2012. Brady Quinn wasn't much better. So you look at that quarterback situation and you say, look, the first thing I need to do is get a quarterback in here that I can trust. You can't go in the draft and get a quarterback that you can trust because you don't know what you're getting when you go into the draft. None of these quarterbacks are a known commodity like last year's draft had guys at the top of the draft that you felt really confident in, feeling that if I put them in, they're not going to embarrass me or the franchise. They're going to go out and perform at a very high level and give us a chance to win. That's not the case in this upcoming draft. You don't know what you're going to get. The quarterback position is an unknown in this draft. And so Andy Reid wasn't willing to mortgage away the future on the first overall selection being a quarterback. So the next best thing was to go out and get a known commodity at the quarterback position. And I talked about this last week. You give up a number 2 or a second-round draft choice for potential, immense potential, or a known commodity. You don't give up a second-round pick for someone that you don't believe in or that you're not sure what you're getting in return. The Chiefs feel like they're getting a really good quarterback in Alex Smith. And I tell you what, if they get the Alex Smith that we saw in 2011, that we saw in the first half of 2012, then they're getting a really good quarterback. One that can elevate the Chiefs back to the postseason. And I really sincerely mean that. I feel like the Chiefs are an ultra-talented team. That's why Romeo Crennel was fired. Because this team had 6 Pro Bowlers, had a lot of talent, and only won 2 games on the season. And for that much talent to only be able to win 2 games, not going to cut it. And a lot of it wasn't Romeo Crennel's fault. A lot of it was the doing of this offense, and more specifically, Matt Castle and his inability to take care of the football. When you turn the football over as much as the Kansas City Chiefs did in the 2012 season, you're going to lose 14 games. You're going to lose 13 games. You're going to lose an inordinate amount of games because you can't turn the football over in the National Football League. And the one thing that Alex Smith doesn't do is turn the football over. He takes care of the football better than 90% of the quarterbacks in the National Football League. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that he didn't take a lot of risk. He's not going to be chucking the football 40 and 50 yards down the field. He's exactly what you look for in a West Coast quarterback. A guy that's going to dink and dunk you all the way down the field, going to have a very high completion percentage because he's not going to take a lot of shots down the field. And he's going to be extremely accurate and take care of the football. And if we get that Alex Smith, the 2011 and 2012 Alex Smith, then the Chiefs will be in business because they have enough talent. They have enough skill position guys that can get it done, especially if they're able to bring Dwayne Bowe back into the fold. They'll be set. And I tell you what, the Denver Broncos will have some competition in the AFC West if they get that Alex Smith that Andy Reid gave up a second-round pick and another conditional pick to get in Kansas City. And I think that's exactly who they will get. And if this line can protect, look, Brendan Albert is a free agent, and I don't think the Chiefs are going to make a play to re-sign him. If you're the Chiefs, I'd much rather go with what I know than to go out and test the waters and get something that I don't. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. You know what Brendan Albert has been for you the last 4 seasons. No need to cut him loose and go pay another guy $1 million or $2 million less than what Brendan Albert is asking for. Pay him the money that he's looking for. Bring him back. You'll have a known commodity. You know exactly what you're getting out of Brendan Albert. Put him back at left tackle and feel secure in putting Alex Smith behind the center. If you're the Chiefs, this was a great move for you. I don't know if the price tag was where you wanted it to be. And Andy Reid invented the fleece move, where you take a quarterback, you dangle him out there in front of everybody, and then you simply rate them for a high draft pick. He did it with Donovan McNabb to the Redskins. He did it to Arizona with Kevin Kolb. Andy Reid invented fleecing teams for quarterbacks. And here he is giving up a high pick. The first pick, essentially a first-round pick. The first pick in the second round of the NFL 2013 draft. And another conditional pick for Alex Smith. So Andy Reid taking a dose of his own medicine. But look, when it comes to the quarterback position, no price is too high to pay. Because without a quarterback, you don't have a chance. And if you don't have a chance, you're not winning ball games. And if you're not winning ball games, guess what? Someone's going to get fired. So if there's no price tag and no limit you put on the quarterback position. And so I think it was a really good trade for the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's equally as good for the San Francisco 49ers because they net 2 more picks. And now all of a sudden, the rich is getting richer because now the San Francisco 49ers have 6 picks before the 5th round of the draft and another 6 picks after. So we're talking about a total of 12 draft choices for the San Francisco 49ers as if they needed any more help. This team just made it to the Super Bowl. They already have a lot of young talent on their team. And here they go, having 12 more picks at their disposal. And if they're smart, they'll parlay this into a Bill Belichick type draft. They'll turn into the San Francisco Patriots, where they take their picks and they use them on themselves and they trade away others to other needy teams that are looking to move up. and you use those picks to parlay them into picks next season. So next year you'll be in the same boat as you are this year, having a whole bunch of picks, 2 1s or 2 2s, and then next year you can do the same thing. Use a couple of your picks, trade a 1 or a couple of 2s away to someone else that's looking to move up, and get more picks for the next year's draft and the next year's draft. That's what the Patriots have been doing for the last 5 or 6 years strong. They get a whole bunch of picks, and then they start trading them away and earn more picks for the next season's draft, and do the same thing the next year. Use some picks, trade some away, gain some more picks for the next year's draft. And then when they finally target a guy that they need to use their own picks on, like they did last year with Chandler Jones, they go up and they go get him. They go up and get their guy because they have extra picks to do so. So the San Francisco 49ers are sitting pretty right now at this very moment. And so it was a good trade for both teams involved. And now I talked about the dominoes falling because of this trade. What that trade absolutely means is that the Chiefs aren't selecting a quarterback with the number 1 pick overall in the draft. And I don't think that was ever their intentions anyway. However, that takes any doubt out of the equation. Now you know for certain that there won't be a quarterback taken off the board with the number 1 overall selection in the draft. So now you have to think that if they don't re-sign Brendan Albert, they're going after a left tackle. So now what that means is, can a guy like Geno Smith possibly be on his way to, say, Oakland? Who knows? That's why this draft will have so much intrigue involved in it, because you just don't know what's going to occur. And you can never be sure about all these teams because there is not a lot of quality in this draft. And what I mean by that is, this is not a top-heavy draft like the one we saw last season, where you knew what you were getting at the top half of that draft with Andrew Luck, with Robert Griffin III. This isn't one of those drafts where it's extremely top-heavy and teams are clamoring to get up so they can get their hands on a guy like a Morris Claiborne. This isn't that type of draft. There are a few gems, but nothing worth trading away your 2nd and 4th round pick over to come up and get. This isn't that type of draft. And so I think that there's more quantity in this draft and less quality. And I'm not saying that the players in this draft aren't any good. What I'm saying is the quality of player isn't as good. There's not going to be as many Pro Bowl and All-Pro players out of this draft as, say, last year's draft. There's not going to be that kind of impact. There will be some solid players. There'll be a lot of value in this draft. But as Mike Mayock said, and I tell you all the time, around this time of the year, Mike Mayock is the man. Whatever Mike Mayock says goes. It is golden in my eyes. And Mike Mayock has already told me that the same player that you picked at 9, you're getting at 19 and at 29. And that's what I mean by quantity in this draft. It's all the same. They all run together. Different name, different body, different school, same guy. And that's what I mean by less quality, more quantity in this draft. So that's a touchdown. Go ahead, throw it up. Don't be afraid. Throw it up. I'm going to tack on this quick extra point. Found it funny yesterday watching a little bit of TV that Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers a week ago found it necessary to come out and really defend their team as not being soft. Mike McCarthy was on the radio station and he was talking and basically coming back against the Milwaukee Sentinel-Journal, a newspaper in Wisconsin that said that the Packers were soft. They didn't directly say it, but they insinuated that the Packers were soft and that they were out physical in the playoffs by the 49ers. And Mike McCarthy resented that statement and he felt the need to come out and defend his football team. And look, I don't think the Packers are necessarily soft, but I think London Fletcher, and I was watching Total Access yesterday, and I thought that London Fletcher made a really valid point. When you throw the football as much as the Green Bay Packers do, you get labeled as soft. When you can't run the football, when you can't pound a team into the ground, and you rely heavily on the pass, and the Packers are a 70-30 type of team when it comes to running the football, you're labeled as soft. And when you lose to teams like the 49ers and you get punched in the mouth and you get dominated like they were in the playoffs against the San Francisco 49ers, they were dominated by the 49ers the opening week of the season. That's what happens. That's what you are labeled as, soft, because you're a finesse team. And I don't think the Packers are soft. I really don't. I just think that they're a finesse team because the perception is you throw the football a lot, which the Packers do, then you're a finesse football team. You can't line up, and the Packers can't. Their offensive line isn't good enough to just line up and manhandle the opposing team, knock them off the ball, drive them 3-4 yards off the line of scrimmage, and run the football. At the end of a game, the Packers can't line up, run 4-minute offense, and grind you into oblivion and win the football game. They can't do it. And that's what really tough and solid and hard-nosed teams can do at the end of games. And the Packers, they can't do that because their offensive line isn't good enough. That doesn't mean they're soft. They're just not as tough as some of the other teams in the National Football League. Simple as that. And I thank you for joining me here in the lab room on this Thursday afternoon. Got to a lot on the program, and so felt like it was a very productive show. Many ways to contact or view the show. There's Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Like it. Every video I've ever done has been uploaded to the Facebook page, so check it out. There's Twitter. At In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to the page on YouTube. Louis T is the page. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And finally, if you contact me through any one of those social media websites, it'll come directly to the inbox. But if you want to bypass that, the easiest way to contact me is through the inbox. In the lab room at gmail.com is the inbox. I thank you for joining me today. Want to see you back here, same time, same place. And as always, have a good one. Continue to watch the 5-minute or less series. And I'll see you back here tomorrow on this program. Have a good one.